Welcome to L at Will.
I hate you.
That's the real name.
Yep.
Registered on Company's House now.
I'm going to invoice you for my party popper.
You offered nothing else so far, Will. That's been your contribution. And it's take two because Will... Carry on. Let's go through. We'll keep rolling.
Yeah, it's an inadvertent football team one. I say football themed. One of us is wearing a football shirt and the other one's wearing something in red. So off the back of a tweet from SHC Community, I think. I wonder who that might be.
I'm Matt Green. Goal scoring. Obviously quite a broad topic, but we're going to try and narrow it down a little bit for you. As we keep saying every episode, this is just our views. This isn't the only way to do it. It's not black and white. And there's lots of other ways to do it without saying anything cheesy.
Or abusing any animals.
Yeah, that.
Well, I think ultimately it is an outcome-based activity. So you've got to be quite black and white. It's, you put the ball over a line. And there's lots of ways to do that. When I talk to players, for me, probably the main thing is having an attitude where it goes over the line and you do what it takes. And a lot of that, you'll look at people like...
So to jump in just quickly, so as opposed, outcome focused as opposed to process driven, which obviously is, again, hot topics, but we have the processes to score goals, but good goal scoring is mainly about getting that outcome, which is scoring.
Yes, and behaviour and skill set is very, very flexible and adaptive to enable that. So if you look at, I'd say probably the four over the last sort of 5 years, if you exclude Ashley Jackson, the sort of four goal-scoring forwards that GB have had, you would look at Danson, Bray, Ward, Forsyth. The way they score the goals is very adaptable. And grip, body position, there's certain principles that might flow through that, but there's a large amount of variability in technical execution.
But they all certainly share the same mindset of the ball's going in the goal. Period.
Yeah, get it over the line.
I like that term. Offering more, you are.
So our four types of goal scoring. Four types of goals. So I mean, we've been mulling around this really a little bit, and we've kind of come up with four types. Striking, which would be take the ball to space, hit, backspace, forehand, backhand, striking skills. Deflection goal, which kind of does exactly what it says on the tin. A connection goal, which would be stick a ball head up, look to connect with a partner, those sorts of sweaty goals that you score on FIFA that really annoy everyone. And the final one would be a reaction type goal, which is generally very improvised, technically, rebounds, stuff like that.
Really hard to do on a trackpad, this.
Reading and writing is not your strong point, is it? So let's,
Argentina versus South Africa. A few points in here for me. Bit of a reaction goal, but a lot of improvisation in the goal scoring. So here, obviously some good ball carrying. We're trying to get something away, and we decide to try and get something at the goal, and then there's a reaction here to score.
Yeah, I would be talking about nice low body position, knees bent, chest pointing at the keeper, and split grip for me is one of the most fundamental technical things.
Top bin, isn't it?
That is a woof.
Okay, so woof. Really nice long corner routine. Obviously stepping off to create space. And then manufacturing space to strike the ball. So this would be a strike goal. Here she is turning and hitting the ball to get something towards a target. The behaviour of the people in and around the goal is then key for me. And I think this is very important when working with girls in particular who maybe might not be so aggressive to try and smash the ball, whereas boys is complete opposite. They are trying to hit the ball always as hard as they can, with girls, it's really important to have that conversation around let's be aggressive and hit the ball, and with boys, because ultimately they can get it very wrong at the same time.
Yeah, I would say a couple of things. First touch is taking the ball to space. And then for me, one of the fundamental things is shooting early rather than shooting hard. I mean, yes, we want to shoot hard, but actually the early shot, bang, stops the keeper setting and then making a save. So just catches them off guard.
Fundamentally, is that Will?
That is fundamentally. Did I say it again?
Yeah.
Brilliant. I would also be talking along what you've said. I think it's a really interesting point around the intent to shoot hard. You've got to be prepared to take. We need to take the ball to space, take our stick off it to hit it. We've got to encourage kids to do that. I think too often, if we try and make the training environment too sterile and avoid these situations where they've got that attitude of take it, hit it, to protect players, actually we're making it more dangerous when we put players in competition.
Really good goal scoring from Belgium here. Little deflection goal at the near post. Such an easy goal, but I think the key technical bits for me are the domination of the space at the near post. So he's dominating the space in front of the keeper. Again, technically he is low in the circle, but he is getting his stick in and getting a touch on that. It's not complex. It's not a hard thing. It's meeting the ball. It's attacking the space, dominating that space. That's ridiculous hands, isn't it? Oh, stop it.
Oh, Ray. Yeah, there's not much to say other than he takes the ball to space and absolutely munches it. Wow.
Wowzers. Do that. That is, and well, reference a conversation with Mike Hughes here. For a while, we had a bit of a debate about when you're in the circle, there are certain areas where maybe you should shoot instead of upgrade or carry. However, I'm very much on board about shooting in the circle everywhere and everywhere.
Can I just say as well, just look at the player sliding in. He's between the posts. He's going in there when that guy is going to absolutely hoof it at him. If that ball is flat, hard across the circle, he gets an unbelievable deflection. So there's two worldies they could have scored in this situation.
Really nice goal here from Germany, proving that Belgium can concede. Real simple. Trap the ball, hit the ball, get a shot away in the circle. Be aggressive with your shooting. Technically, clip hit. I think it's really important here that he hasn't got time for a big wind-up.
Yeah, I would add to that absolutely zero delay in getting the shot away. And when we talk about taking the ball to space, we can obviously manufacture that space with our technical improvisation. So dropping your hands down and stick with a clip hit allows you to do that in more congestion.
Again, really unorthodox goal, particularly this first shot. If we look at the finish here, trapping the ball in the circle on the bobble, and he is getting anything towards goal. To me, it looks very split grip. It's quite hard to tell without slowing it down, and I'm not going to. Getting
possibly. It's a bit like a punch, isn't it? Like that sort of thing. And then I think the rebound is very much technically improvised. It's floor to score, keep your stick on the ball under pressure, again, get it a goal.
Slap Will, underrated? Question mark?
Yeah, well, yeah, very much so. I think ask Robbie Gleeson. That's all he did. One great thing about slapping with shooting when the ball's coming at you first time is you can change the point that the shot's expected to come from. So as the ball is coming to you, if you lunge towards it, the ball is now being struck 2 to 3 feet at a different angle than where the keeper initially expects it. So it's a great way to open up different spaces in the goal to finish. Just a quick point in here, Elliot. I think it's important to give players the opportunity to experiment and explore these sort of technical variabilities, just get the ball at goal quickly. When I do this, I don't think it's a bad thing to go really unopposed with your practice. So, but have a constraint of you've got one touch and it's got to be on target. So yeah. I might be with a player in front of goal, me walking with a bucket of balls and randomly dropping or bouncing them around that player, so it's around their feet in awkward areas. And the rule is they've just got to hit it, and it might be an upright backhand, or it might be latch it onto sort of a flick on the bounce. But that's how you develop, I think, this ability to be flexible technically.
I think what you're saying is more around, as a coach, the context of this is probably more of a one-to-one or a small group session. So it's really important that the context is clear there. But also, as a coach, you're not trying to give them lots of repetitions to just try and get better. You're not hitting balls without any variability. You're adding lots of variability, lots of different situations for them to find a solution to, whilst also giving them some solutions and giving them some technical guidance.
So I'd just add to that, I would say what we've described there is very different to block drilling.
I think you need to be really careful about what your intent is with your design. So, for example, using a cage game that is lots of repetitions on chaotic goal scoring, like a lot of us have probably seen, is great if what you want is lots of repetitions within goal scoring. If you're looking about stressing the key detail of goal scoring, which is it's a really high pressure skill most of the time, then you have to set your practice design up slightly differently.
Yeah, I agree with you about that. I mean, goal-to-goal games are used very regularly, which is great. And I think they're particularly good for goalies, and they're great for rebounds. But how often do you win the ball in and around your own circle and you're immediately in a position to shoot in another circle? So I think you're right. The intention of what you're doing, the intentionality of what you're doing is crucial.
A lot of the practice designs I will try and use are trying to make, I think using chaos is great and trying to make sure that it is a really chaotic environment for them, but how to make it game realistic. So quite often if let's say we have a free hit going this way, quite often what you're going to have is at least 20 players within this area. So it's making sure that the game design that we use replicates that.
I think that's a really good point, and I think about whether or not it looks like a game. So that 3v3 coming through with lots of space does occur in the game, but when it occurs in the game, it's got to be taken advantage of in a very short period of time, because it's not just 3v3 and potter around, it's 3v3 and there's a load of people trying to get back. So again, think about why you're doing that activity and where it lends itself in a game. One's right half the press. I've played around with this tonight. And the reason being, I've got a couple of girls who've got quite nice hands in the team, but want to keep drifting wide. So I wanted to try and get them to execute shooting in tight spaces. So we're talking about striking goals, things like backspace shots, first touch in and bang. But also it will then lead to a bit of baseline, what we did. So it was basically making several tight channels at the top of the circle. I mean, I have 3, maybe 5, can't remember, but it's something like that. The rule being, if the ball goes in there, it can't then cross those lines. It has to go through or come back out. So it creates added congestion, sort of fake congestion around the top of the circle. It led to quite a lot of baseline carry, but also in here, as I said, sharp hands to have a hard shot early on or a bit of backspace.
I know I've said before I like to do some phase stuff, but having balls starting on the sidelines or even in designated, or as a coach you can feed them out. Idea being that you can play, instead of doing your standard 2 versus 1 at the D, which you might do to the top of the D, which is great, you can tweak your numbers like I said in the previous episode. So it could be a 2 versus 3, which makes it really hard for the attacking team to go and score a goal, so you might not see some success, or flip it and start it as a 3v2, but that starts this side and goes in and plays through to the goal. Then you can have the same, but for the opposite number, and again, you can tweak your numbers so it ends up being overload, underload, or underload, overload, or even number. But you can have lots of different starting places, and it might be that you have X amount of balls, but you give them a time limit in each rep to score. and then the numbers that join in, so the first 2v3, okay, for example, play out towards goal, you then gain another 2v3, so you end up even numbers 5 on 5. Yeah, got my maths right. And then you can chuck in any number, quite good for spare numbers. But the idea being it will gain and it'll be more chaotic. There'll be multi-phase attacks, so you'll get attack, defend, or you might get attack, depends how you set it up. But there's multiple balls, multiple start points, and multiple reactions, and it should create lots of chaos for you.
I like the multiple feeds. I think that's giving exploration of how you score in different circle entries, which will be good.
And as a coach, you can then manufacture a straight strike from the top D by feeding Johnny, who's about to walk in the D and wallop it.
Okay, so this is a game I call Quickfire. Quite a good one when dealing with consequence of goal scoring. I like to end sessions with it because it's a bit competitive and it's quite high pressured, even though it's pretty much unopposed. So you've got one team starting outside the 23. They've got all the balls here. The other team waits around the top of the circle. Their job is just to make sure there's a constant supply of balls back here. And you've got the goalie in there. So first team goes, and we are on the clock. Draw a little clock. We're on the clock, and we are timing how long it takes every one of those to run in, shoot from the top of the D, and score past the keeper. If they score, they step out, and you keep going until they've all gone, and that's when the time stops. The other rule would be there's only allowed to be one person that side of the 23 at any one time. So they have to get back, and then they're getting fatigued as well. So it's that thing of you've missed the target, get back, set the press. So there's loads of fatigue, there's loads of high pressure, and then basically the other team switches and tries to beat their time.
And probably one just to throw in, as I've just thought of it, a bit of a rondo, because we like rondos, but again, having, if it's 4v4v4, whatever your numbers might be, let's say it's 3v3v3, one team defending in the middle, and then you talk about completed passes. And the idea here is that we're trying to put that counter element into it and add some of the consequence. So let's just say it's 3v3v3, so 6 against 3, complete 5 passes, 10 passes, then you get the right to go to this goal and break away. You could obviously condition it then so the defenders on the people on the outside could become defenders, and then it becomes a 3 versus 6, or you could tweak the rules to suit that. But the idea that they earn the right to score by completing passes in this space, and then it's a breakaway towards the goal, doesn't always give them loads of chances to score, but adds a bit more consequence about it.
I can't believe you've just used a rondo for our goal scoring video. So I've done that before, and this is me being lazy in terms of my pitch design. Using the 7-a-side Ds, which are in here, I do a pretty similar thing and say, if there's a right to attack, again, I love right to attack games, loads of transition, you go and try and make 3 passes in there, or 3 passes in there, or 3 passes just over the 23. So again, you get that connection. You force people to jump out and support the ball, which then creates those sort of counter goals where you've got numbers here and you've got to get back in behind them. So we're in 3 teams. It could be 4v4v4 if you wanted, or even numbers. The more the numbers ramp up, probably you start to use a bit more space. I've just gone D width here. Again, we're looking at the consequence and looking at another one of my principles, which is taking the ball to space to strike it. So you get quite a few striking goals. You can do that by really ramping up the individual responsibility for marking people in here. So if you're explicit around man-to-man and staying tight, not letting your man get away, then you put that pressure on space of seeking space to score. What basically happens is, let's say Blues are attacking the goal and the feed comes in from the crosses out there. They're trying to score. If the Blacks win the ball off them, they're trying to get the ball back to the feed. If they do that, they switch straight away and step out. Blues are now immediately the defenders, and the X's take that ball they've just received and attack with it to go 3v3. Again, if the defenders win the ball and they outlet, they step out and are replaced straight away by that team and it becomes the next lot of 3v3.
When you're talking about consequence in goal scoring, having transition and jump back over a long distance. So I think that adds a lot of pressure to a situation. If you have to travel from, let's say, one end of the pitch to the other within the transition, or because there's an error happened or a jump back happened, that will then add lots of stress in terms of fatigue on the legs, rather than thinking about playing over a short distance. Can we play potentially over a 25, so it's long and thin because it's still a long distance with low numbers, or playing over 3/4 pitch or a full pitch?
Yeah, and I think it's important that you talk about going across the 25 or something like that, because in the real world we don't always get access to a completely empty pitch. So you can be a little bit creative as well around your pitch space. So for me, if you really want to stretch it and you have half a pitch, just move your goals into the corner and have a big diagonal.